Awesome. Welcome, everyone. My name is Amanda. I am a consulting development analyst, a part of the Accenture organization, and I'm really excited to be here today with my co-presenter, Joe Mead, to discuss the Disability Inclusion Advantage. So we're super eager to share with you who we are as an organization and our work in the inclusion and diversity space specific to persons with disabilities. The business case for why this is important, and to also share recruitment best practices that we hope you can take away in your own professional development. So I'd like to introduce myself and my co-host. As I mentioned, I'm a consulting development analyst. My primary specialization is in financial services and software and platforms. I also happen to be the Persons with Disabilities community lead for the Accenture Vancouver office, and my goal is really to bring inclusion and diversity focused initiatives to my team members and challenge them to rethink disability in the workplace. And I will hand it over to Joe to introduce himself as well.
Hey, hello everyone. Thanks for having me here. My name is Joe. I work for Accenture. I work for Accenture out of the Ottawa office, and I'm a senior manager. I've been working for Accenture now for 17 years. And I specialize in delivering large, complex software projects to various Accenture clients. And one area that I'm very passionate about in my work is I am also the Persons with Disabilities Employee Resource Group lead for Canada. So thanks for having me here today.
Excellent. So to kick off, we'd just like to give you a brief overview of Accenture as an organization. So we are a leading global professional services company. We provide a broad range of services in strategy, consulting, interactive, technology, and operations. We combine really unmatched experience and specialized capabilities across more than 40 industries. And with more than 500,000 people serving clients in more than 120 countries, we bring continuous innovation to really help clients improve their performance and create lasting value across their enterprises. We have a broad global footprint with offices and operations in 51 countries, serving clients in more than 120 countries. We are both extremely global, serving clients consistently anywhere they operate, and we're also extremely local, bringing local execution and market relevance to our clients. We operate at the heart of our clients' businesses, really helping them address some of their most complex mission-critical issues. We have relationships with more than 6,000 clients, and we're proud that 95 of our top 100 clients have actually been clients for at least 10 years, and these long relationships really allow us to create future demand. However, what truly makes us unique is our core values, of which people and diversity play such a critical part. We are focused on attracting, developing, and retaining the best talent for our business, challenging our people to demonstrate a can-do attitude and really fostering a collaborative and mutually supportive environment. We value diversity and unique contributions, fostering a trusting, open, and inclusive environment. And we promote treating each and every individual in a manner that reflects our values. So now I'll pass it over to Joe, who will actually speak to our Persons with Disabilities Internal Resource Group.
All right, thank you. So one of the things that we're very focused on at Accenture is inclusion and diversity. It's something we're passionate about. We'll get into a little bit more of the business case for that later on, but it's something that we know we need to focus on if we are going to do well as an organization. And we've taken some very serious looks at, okay, how do we approach this topic of inclusion and diversity? And one of the ways that we try to address and improve how we're doing in this space is through the existence of something called employee resource groups. And they're areas where people can connect, build their network, build their skills, really use their passion to try to further or drive areas within the various ERGs or employee resource groups that we have. And one of the employee resource groups that we have here in Canada is the Persons with Disabilities Employee Resource Group. So we try to empower, educate, connect individuals with visible, hidden disabilities, mental illness, and as well, you know, caregivers and other folks who are affected as well. When I think about, you know, who we're trying to connect with as an ERG, something like this would be a good example where we want to connect with folks outside of Accenture to know that, you know, Accenture gets it, and there are many other organizations out there like us who value anyone who can bring their best selves to work every day, regardless you know, their, let's say, whether or not they're a person with disability or any other dimension of an inclusion and diversity. So we believe each person has unique skills, talents, and strengths to contribute. Our ambition is we want to be able to folks to bring their skills out and bring their best selves to work every day, truly feel included, truly feel like they belong and be part of a diverse team. We've participated in some key pieces of research that's indicated here on the slide, getting disability advantage. So we'll talk a little bit later on. And we have strict non-discrimination, harassment, democracy policies that we adhere to. So very focused on everyone outside of Accenture, want them to know that we get it. But then within Accenture, we want to make sure that if you are an Accenture employee and you're a person with a disability, well, we want to enable you. Here are the assistive technologies that you can take advantage of to enable you to do your best work. Here's what we're doing in the area of accessibility. Here's how we create events that are accessible to you. Here are the support that are available to you if you need some additional support. What can we do to help you? And then if you're not a person with a disability, you know, maybe you're impacted in some other way indirectly by a friend, a loved one, a family member, something like that. Here's what you should be aware of. Here's some tools. Here's ways we can support. And then if you have colleagues who are persons with disabilities, here's some of the etiquette. Here's some of the language. Here's what you should and should not do. How can we help you to make everyone feel included and bring their most productive selves to work every day? All right, if we can jump forward, please, Amanda. Thank you. Okay, so why do we exist? So we know that within Accenture Canada, we have about 5.9% of our workforce that identifies as a person with disability. But we know that 22% of Canadians over 15 years old have some form of disability. So there's a gap. It's a gap that we want to fill. We want to bridge it. So we're looking for ways to make our workforce more representative of the geographies or the areas in which we live and work, right? So why that gap, and what can we do to become better at employing persons with disabilities, recruiting them, retaining them, enabling them, promoting them, that sort of thing, so we can kind of achieve that goal. Right now, we've got 200 plus members in our employee resource group in Canada across 7 offices. And we've done some really exciting things as well in terms of making sure that we're focused on hiring persons with disabilities, some specific recruiting activities that we're taking on. A good example, you can see the 80% number here on the screen. A good example is the work we're doing to hire folks with autism spectrum disorder, and the pilots we've done in Canada, partnering with an organization called Specialister. So that's why we exist. That's our ambition. We want to make sure we're representative. And we have some big goals as a group, as an employee resource group. So I mentioned we want to increase our population of folks who identify as persons with disabilities through focused recruiting, but not just recruiting. We want to make sure if we were to recruit someone who is a person with disability that they want to stay at Accenture. They feel like they're included, that they're rewarded, that this is the place to be and something that they can be very passionate about. We want to find out from an external organization, how are we doing? Let's check up. We have a sense of how we're doing, but we want other experts in this area to come in, take a look at our efforts and say, here's some opportunities where you can grow. I mentioned the work we've done on hiring folks on the spectrum, working with Specialister, and we want to continue that. We want to keep that coming. We want that to be part of our business as usual and have that even grow, not only here in Canada, but across the globe, because Accenture is a global organization. make sure we're supporting our parents in terms of benefits. We're market competitive, and even more than that, right? So if we need to take care of those who are impacted by disability, that we're doing that to the best of our ability. We want everyone to be aware of our ERG, what we're doing, get an education from us so everyone is inclusive in doing all the right things and promoting the way we want them to promote in this space. We want to have a lead in every office. And really, we just want to make sure that we're out there impacting positively the lives of persons with disability and every other Accenture employee. So we have a level playing field. Everyone is equally enabled, and we can reach that true kind of meritocracy that we strive for. All right, moving along, please. So, you can see here, as I said, we're a big organization. We have 505,000 employees. We're committed to accelerating quality for all of them and to creating a work environment where everyone feels like they belong. It starts at the top, so the messaging comes right from our CEO, Julie Sweet, right down through our lead here in North America, our Canadian lead, and it cascades across every member of our organization. So it's something that we're very focused on. It's not something that we see as a nice to have, it's something we see as an imperative. We go so far as to make sure that we're publishing our information and in terms of how we're hiring across various dimensions of inclusion and diversity, persons with disabilities being one of those. And I think inclusion and diversity, one thing I'm proud of working at Accenture is it's something that we recognize we're not perfect at yet. We have a ways to go to get to where we want to be, but we have many initiatives, we have many plans, strategies to get us there, and we show our numbers to be open and upfront with our population and the greater population to show how we're doing along that journey, and we're tracking every step of the way. All right, on to the next, please, Amanda. Thank you. So I said it was a business imperative. That's true. We'll talk about that quite a bit. We'll see some slides on it, but you can see you're talking here about purchasing decisions by various areas of the population. 15% of the world's population live with some sort of a disability. 78% of the LGBTI community and their friends would switch brands if someone was known to be LGBTI friendly. We look at performance innovation. We know that the more diverse we have management teams, they have 90% higher revenue due to that innovation. So the studies tell us that it pays off to focus in this area, to be inclusive, to be diverse, to get different perspectives, not have one type of an individual kind of running the show where you don't get that diversity of thought and opportunity for different perspective and better ideas. And it just so happens that it's also the right thing to do. So it's nice when a key area of your business also feels good, motivates our employees to get involved, to try to drive these things forward, to make it the best company that we can be a part of, not only in terms of results, but also in terms of makeup and population. So that marries nicely there. I think that's a key thing to note. It's not just a financial decision or the business impacts, it's also engagement with our employees, making sure that they feel like, hey, we're in a good place and we're proud to be working here. All right, next slide, please, Amanda. So we asked, is there a positive correlation between how inclusive a company is of persons with differing abilities and its financial performance? We showed a few stats on that before. We're going to walk through one or two more. So if we can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. Yes, so it does exist. Spoiler alert, surprise, surprise. Companies that embrace best practices for including persons with disabilities also perform better financially, outperforming other companies in revenue, net income, and economic profit margins. Very good, okay. It pays to be inclusive. On average, disability inclusive champions achieved 28% higher revenue, 2 times higher net income, and stronger profits, right? You can see here to the tune on average of a 30% better performance. All right. They're twice as likely to have total shareholder returns that outperform peers based on historical analysis. 4 times more likely to have shareholder returns that outperform peers when compared to non-improvers. So we know that despite all of this, persons with disabilities continue to be underrepresented in corporate North America. And I think an important thing to note is knowing how important it is to focus on this area, and knowing that people who are persons with disabilities continue to be underrepresented, it creates a tremendous opportunity, right? Obviously, there's a gap there between capability and employment. So organizations who can take advantage of that opportunity by closing that gap, employing persons with disabilities, realizing the benefits that come along with hiring persons with disabilities. If you look at the research, you know that teams that have a person with disability on them are more engaged, they're more connected to their work. The absenteeism is lower. There's so many benefits to be yielded. It's very apparent that this is something that we need to be focused on, and I think our competitors out there in the market, they get it as well, and many other organizations are starting to turn their eyes toward this type of research, this type of information, to drive them to try to look to this represented, underemployed, underutilized area of our population to try to do better. Okay, next slide, please, Amanda. So here's the state. This is a look at the numbers that we get from the Bureau of Labor Statistics in the United States, not from here in Canada, but just over 30 million folks of differing abilities in the US. 51% of those folks are at a working age, but you can see 33% are employed. So this speaks to the gap that I was just talking about before, and the opportunity for organizations, if they can be smart, they can be flexible, to take advantage, to run with this, to do better for society, to do better for themselves. So what's at stake? So if just 1% of the unemployed persons with differing abilities join the labor force, the GDP would jump huge, right? So that's just 1%. And we saw the low unemployment rate, the opportunity to grow by much more than that, right? If it was representative of the society, you could see an explosion in GDP and just benefits. That this is just one look at one country. So many countries around the world who are realizing this, who will focus on this, and we hope to see as a result a real turnaround in terms of where we are. First of all, for the employment percentages of persons with disabilities, and then, these companies, these countries independently doing better as well. So 4 key actions came from our study. We didn't just look at, okay, what are some companies doing who are inclusive and others who are not to persons with disabilities? Here's the difference. We also put forth, here's what organizations need to focus on in order to do better themselves in this space. So we need to be for employing, right? Looking at your recruiting practice, looking at, are you adjusting that? Are you able to adjust that to bring in all different types of people, say, than you would have historically, right? Can you bend the way you work to do better and implement those practices? Enabling. So once you have someone in the door, can you give them the tools, the technologies? Do you have the accessibility built into your processes within your organization to make sure that folks, once they're there, can do what they need to do? And they're doing it for you. So it's wins all around by focusing on this enablement piece. Engagement, so generating awareness. This is what I think of as a key goal of our employee resource group. As I said, right? You need to foster an inclusive culture. You need to tell people what it is and why it's important, and make sure that you're really driving the right type of inclusion so you can keep your diverse resource and retain the people who have made the decision to come work with you and amongst your teams. and then empower. You need to create environments where anyone can speak up, anyone can make a difference, everyone's ideas are valued and sought and implemented freely, and making sure that people know that they're an important part of the organization, and enabling them even to move within jobs and continue to make a difference longer term. All right. So you need to have transparency, leadership, obviously feedback, right? You need to know and get that feedback to understand, are you doing well? As I've said earlier, it's one thing to think that you are, but you really want to know from folks who are going through these experiences firsthand, here's where you can do better. And that opens your eyes and gives you the information you need to improve your process, implement, and then seek more feedback. All right, so here's inclusion and diversity at Accenture in a at a glance. So you can see gender, 40% or 44% of our global workforce is female, and we have a goal to get there by 2025, and with a real focus on making sure that not only are we looking overall gender mix, but we want to make sure that we're improving the percentages as we get up into the management and executive levels. That is representative of our society there as well. We have pride, enablement programs. We have champions and allies in those spaces to make sure that we're spreading the word, educating, hosting events. One thing I'll say though, here's a look at some of the areas where we slice up, let's say, or have different dimensions of inclusion and diversity, but this is not all that we focus on, and not all that other organizations are focused on. We like to take a little bit of a more local look and see what applies to each of our various geographies, cities, areas, and stand up employee resource groups or efforts in those spaces after assessing and determining the needs of our local areas or cities. All right, I think we can move on, please. Okay, focus on persons with disabilities. So what are some other things we're doing? We have our Accessibility Center of Excellence. What this is we have senior leadership involved. They sponsor it. It's centrally run so that we get to have experts who have a global of everything that we're doing across accessibility, and take our learnings from various countries and geographies and regions around the world and apply them and share that information across the organization. That we perform audits so we can make sure that we're clean in terms of, this is building truly accessible. Let's build that as part of our regular practice. Let's make sure it's something that we're thinking about early, because it's much more expensive to fix later. Let's get that rigor in so we're clean across there. I mentioned the Champions programs. We have 28,000 strong across the globe. These are folks who have actively decided to become champions, have taken training, gone out and got past all the required courses and gotten their badge, and proudly kind of display the fact that they are disability champions, and they can be seen as go-to people for information, resources, that sort of thing. And then programs to support training and accommodation. This is an area where we have a central team as well to make sure that we have the best tools available. You reach out to us through our online tool from anywhere across the globe, and you're talking to the same team of experts who has a full understanding of all the tools we have to offer to fit the best tool to enable you, whatever your need. All right, we have a big focus. Our big day for our Canadian Employee Resource Group is International Day of Persons with Disabilities. It's December 3rd. It's observed by the United Nations. There's a little bit of a look at what we're doing across all of our offices. But what we make sure we do is we engage our employees, we make them know that International Day of Persons with Disabilities is coming up. Come join us. Let's get some people in who can educate us, entertain us, have some fun while learning, and really try to open people's eyes, talk about any stigma that might be there in an effort to try to eliminate it, and make sure that it's really engaging and people know that this is an area that's near and dear to our heart, something that we are focused on and will continue to focus on. Next slide, please. And then looking ahead, so we partner internally and externally to expand our knowledge, make sure we're doing a good job, continue to strive to do better, benchmarking our performance regularly. We talk to our clients and other organizations. Amanda talked a little bit about all the organizations across the globe, the type of work we do. We have many clients and we try to spread the word, spread the wealth, so to speak, make sure that they're aware of the importance, why it's important to us, they appreciate why it's important to us, and it really gives them an opportunity to do better themselves. We strive to learn from others. We don't think we know it all. There's always new information, so we're always on the hunt to kind of gather that information, and sharing that information out with others, both internally within Accenture and outside, is also very important to us.
Awesome. Thanks, Joe. So as we look ahead, we really look to embed inclusiveness in our recruitment practices. And from a recruitment perspective, we're focused on 5 pillars: attract, hire, develop, retain, and advance. So we look to build on our hiring strategy by prioritizing diverse candidates, using our partners to really increase the pool of candidates available. We meet those candidates through scholarship programs, internship programs, relationships with professional organizations such as the Disability Foundation, colleges, universities, and Accenture-sponsored events. But to really hone in on that focus for persons with disabilities and other I&D groups, we've launched multiple pilot programs. And from a persons with disabilities perspective, we launched a program in Canada specifically for those on the autism spectrum in conjunction with an external partner called Specialist Turn. In other countries, we've launched targeted internship programs and trainings for persons with disabilities, really trying to round out the skill set that we have in terms of recruiting to really broaden the scope of candidates potentially hired. From a hiring perspective, we look to recruit for diversity at all levels. We use internal champions to help identify skills gaps in talent, and we hope that through a new pipeline of inclusion and diversity talent, we could actually fill those gaps effectively. From a develop, retain, and advance standpoint, we really look to retain exceptional talent through targeted professional development opportunities, really improving diversity at all leadership levels. And so I think while the focus is to create as much diversity as we can from an entry-level standpoint, we're also very much focused on professional development and growth. And that means ensuring that diversity spreads throughout the organization at all different leadership levels. But it's not enough to really, develop these initiatives without some sort of metrics-focused analysis. So we use survey data to prioritize our recruitment performance, our evaluation of our PWD initiatives, and to really make sure that we are meeting the goals that we've established across all these benchmarks, rather all these pillars, to grow our initiatives and develop as a company. So what does this mean for those who are interested in a career in consulting? So at Accenture, we value 3 things: critical thinking, innovation, iteration. But ultimately, these qualities come from candidates who are not afraid to be themselves, who want to make a difference, and who want to be able to learn and grow. And this is very true of those not only interested in a career of consulting, but anyone who is seeking to develop themselves professionally, examining a new career or a new industry. And so we hope we can, provide you with a few best practices for you to apply in your own professional development. Under the pillar Be Yourself, this is not a sort of unheard statement, but at Accenture, our goal is really to celebrate the authenticity in what makes our employees truly human. And it really is important to let your personality shine. So if you're a free spirit, if you're a risk taker, if you're an excitement seeker, if you enjoy generating ideas and engaging in collaborative discussion, if you're a hard worker, if you're curious, passionate, creative, these are things to celebrate. Making a difference. So we really do strive to make a difference among both our clients and our fellow team members. And from a recruitment perspective, we want to celebrate sort of the opportunities that candidates have had in their lives in which they've made a difference in their community, in their academic life, in their professional life, or even, in their family and personally. So what we hope is that they would seek to apply those experiences at Accenture. So if they're keen to advise, if they're looking to make a real impact, if they're able to demonstrate strong leadership qualities and problem-solving abilities, we hope that these can be applied to a career here. From a learn and grow perspective, we're agile and, we're keen to explore new industries, and we hope candidates also demonstrate that ability as well. Those who are interested, I think, in, advancing their career at every stage and constantly learning and engaging in professional development would find countless opportunities to do so, not only at Accenture, but through a lot of our partnering organizations as well, that many of our team members are privy to. And we hope that, candidates bring that sort of, that love of learning to the job as well. But as I mentioned, no matter your professional development goals, we hope that this call will inspire you to apply these 3 qualities to your own career and your own professional development. So having participated in the recruitment process as both a job seeker and a part of a recruitment team for many analysts in the Vancouver office, I really wanted to share some best practices that hopefully professionals at all levels can take away and incorporate into their checklist. So from a resume, it's really important to give your resume as sharp a focus as possible. Highlight skills that match the job, ultimately tailoring your resume to the job and organization that you're targeting, and really making sure you're asking the question, how do your skills align? It's also very important to create action-oriented statements that really showcase and highlight your experience. Be honest. I think sometimes many individuals take the opportunity to sort of rejig their resume in a way they think employers would want to be communicated. However, it's really important to be authentic, as I mentioned, as that is what we celebrate, and to focus on the key experiences that you have built that celebrate your differences. From a cover letter perspective, why you, and why the fit between you and your prospective employer, whether it is Accenture or otherwise. So again, celebrate your diversity and your personal experiences from a persons with disabilities perspective or otherwise that you believe that will resonate with the hiring organization. It's really also important to build on your resume. Don't duplicate it. You have so much precious real estate, and the opportunity to share something that's a little bit more personal, that hasn't already been communicated, can be a great way to build a written relationship with your prospective employer that hasn't had the chance to meet you in person yet. From an interview perspective, it's also very important to think about the types of questions that you might get asked and coming to the interview prepared. So practicing can help in advance, but that being said, even though it can improve your confidence, it's also important not to provide canned or overly rehearsed answers. It's a delicate balance, and it's one that's not easily achieved. But at the same time, going back to that point, it's important to be authentic and yourself, as employers will want to see whether how you are in your interview is whether how you will actually act on the job. And so maintaining, being true to your personalities is incredibly important. Cannot stress that enough. So with that being said, I thought it would be interesting to conduct a few interview questions that might celebrate sort of the personal and professional experiences of those with disabilities, and allow you to position those potentially effectively in an interview as well. So I think what we might do is actually, for those who are interested, we have these questions here, and you can sort of type your responses in the group chat as to how you might answer them in a speed interview. We can also provide a few examples, but it's really just an opportunity to practice interviewing in a pretty intimate and safe setting. I can also give my personal experiences as well, which I hope you'll find, if not useful, at least amusing and engaging. So the first question is that an interviewer might ask you is, what motivates you, and can you give me a specific example of how you've acted on this motivation to develop yourself? From an expectation perspective, candidates should really have concise positive points. They can also discuss the skills they've developed, but it's really just an opportunity to talk about accomplishments. So before we get to sort of, the examples, are there any suggestions in the comments of what people might say in an actual interview in response to this question? Cool. So from a personal standpoint, professionally, what motivates me is the ability to solve complex, challenging problems. And initially, this was a very daunting activity, but that opportunity to do so while leaving a significant impact is something that I find particularly engaging. And professionally, I've had the chance to develop a go-to-market strategy to really help an e-commerce company launch new product categories in Vietnam, expanding their distribution network. Personally, I've also helped my family financially after I sort of secured my first job posting, giving me sort of an opportunity to contribute back to all the work that they've done from an education standpoint and whatnot. So from a professional sense, motivating factors include, being able to challenge myself in new environments, and from a personal sense as well, being able to support those around me in a meaningful and tangible way. The second speed interview question is, what are some of your key areas for development or improvement? So this really speaks to sort of those questions around what are your weaknesses? Can you name an area or an experience in which you've had a challenge in the past? And these can always be really difficult questions for individuals. But I think it's really important to sort of turn this negative question into a positive. Employers know that candidates aren't perfect, and they really want to understand how well you can communicate and what steps you're taking to address your own areas of improvement. So again, if anyone is excited to sort of tackle this question, feel free to indicate that on the chat. Otherwise, I can also list some examples as well. Excellent. So professionally and personally, I've always been really uncomfortable with ambiguity. It's a constant challenge in consulting, so you can see the paradox. However, through my own experiences professionally, I've really challenged myself to establish frameworks and hypotheses that I can use as a roadmap to effectively solve problems in a time-effective manner. So again, you can see that opportunity to turn sort of that negative into a positive. And that's really, again, what employers are looking for. The last speed interview question is, tell me something that I could learn about you that's not listed on your resume. And this goes back to my previous point about sort of, what candidates can do to share personal aspects of themselves that build on their resume in a way that helps them resonate with their prospective employer. So sharing some of those intangible strengths in your background is a great way to go. Your resume is already a way for you to list all your accomplishments and your experiences. But what employers also care about is, who are you as a person? What motivates you? What is your working style? And those are aspects that are really great to communicate on both your cover letter, but also in an interview as well. So personally, I'd like to consider myself as a little bit adventurous. I've traveled to over 12 countries. I've trekked to Machu Picchu from Cusco on the Salcante trek. I'm also an avid Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner, having practiced for nearly 3 years. And so both of those areas have really challenged me to work outside of my comfort zone, problem solve strategically, and really build my confidence as a person, as a professional. So again, these are just a small sample of questions you might get asked in an interview, but are also a really great way to build on the experiences that you've indicated on your resume in a way that can build a stronger and more intimate relationship with an employer. So that really covers our presentation today, and we encourage you to take a look at our Accenture.com page and take a look at the inclusion and diversity link in particular that highlights not only all the research that we've done in this space, our goals, but also examples and lived experiences from our team members who have who are persons with disabilities, or who are a part of our different inclusion and diversity pillar criteria. It's an amazing way to sort of absorb a wealth of knowledge in this space, and I'm constantly learning a lot as well. So we thank you very, very much for this time and this opportunity to share our experiences with you. And so I think with that, if there's Q&A, we'll open it up. Feel free to type anything in the chat. Otherwise, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, and I can leave my name with the ConnecTra organization. Great. Samantha, are there any questions on the line?
Nope. But if any of the attendees would like to turn off their microphone and ask a question, you guys are free to.
Excellent. All right, then. If there are no questions, then we will again thank the organization, ConnecTra, and the Disability Foundation for having us. And we look forward to hosting another event soon.